Okay.
Hey, this is Yanik Silver from Maverick 1000, and with me I have Mr. Sam Carpenter, worked the system. So Sam, I got introduced to Sam's material actually on a Maverick adventure in South Africa. We were there for World Cup, and one of the members said, "You have to read this book. It's incredible." And I'm like, okay, great. And I did check it out, and I'm not a huge fan of systems because I'm more of a creative person, but this is probably the very first book that I mean, I understand the importance of systems and procedures, and this is the first book that I'm like, huh, you know, maybe this actually can work, and this is kind of a really great step-by-step blueprint. So I recommend you check this out, and we're gonna have a quick conversation with Sam on a couple things for entrepreneurs. So Sam was kind enough to join me here in the house. Sam, what do you think? Why do you think entrepreneurs kind of shy away from systems and love the chaos?
It makes you feel heroic, for one thing. Those long work hours, I must be getting somewhere, but you're really running on ice, you know. That's number one. And number two is we just don't want to sit down and do things that don't have an immediate feedback.
Right.
Kind of a feedback loop. You get on the phone and you call somebody, you get an immediate response. You sit down and do a procedure, oh man, we should be doing all these other things. It's hard to sit down and do something that you don't get an immediate feedback on.
So it's the important but not urgent activity.
Exactly, Stephen Covey stuff, right?
And then now you know, your business, just give a quick little nutshell on your business. It's a call center, and you were working 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week.
For a decade and a half, I worked 80 to 100-hour work weeks, and I could do everything. Again, we're in this heroic thing, and it's a call center, and it's a 24/7 private 911, a telephone answering service, and we handle emergency calls all hours of the day, and the staff comes and goes, and there's a world of things that can go wrong and will go wrong in that kind of an operation. And I was fixing computers, I was hiring people, I was taking money to the bank, I was doing everything, and I could do it all, but I was working 100 hours a week. And after 15 years, I was falling apart physically and mentally, and I had an insight late one night, and I realized my business was a collection of systems, and I could work on each system one at a time. In fact, as I lay there in the middle of the night, in fact, when I got this insight, I thought, well, if my business is a collection of systems, independent systems, why don't I work on the biggest problem system first? And so I went down to the office the next day, and that's what we did. And we documented the system, and my two managers and I put our heads together, and 1, 2, 3, 4 put together how we would perform this particular item. And what it was taking money to the bank, getting the money from the client in the front door through the postman, and the accounting done, and getting the money to the bank was the biggest problem. We were losing deposits on the way to the bank. And so what happened was we sat down. First you do this, second you put the envelopes on the desk, number two you open the envelopes. It was 53 steps in this process, and we honed that over a couple of days to the best process we could get it. These steps all made sense to all three managers, and then it fixed the problem, of course, and I didn't have to do it anymore. I didn't have to make deposits anymore, which freed up a couple hours a week. But since that time till now, what we do is we work on that system to make the system better and better and better. We work the system, and the results take care of themselves because the system produces the results we want.
You have 3 key components of the documentation.
Yeah, the documentation. And the documentation is you're not preoccupied with it all the time, but at first you are. And one is the strategic objective. It's a one-page document. It's an expanded mission statement. A mission statement is a waste of time in my mind. We all want to feel good about what we're doing, want our clients to be happy, we want to have the best product. It doesn't really tell you much, but a strategic objective in a single page, single spaced, you can imagine, you can say how we're going to do what we're going to do, what are our resources, what are we not going to do, and in a page, there's about 12 different things you put there, and then everybody shares that and understands it. And then the second document is what we call our operational procedures. And we have 30 of them. We call it 30 procedures. And it lists the basic rules you follow in a gray area decision situation. And the one I always give as an example is, the simplest one is do it now. Why do I want to do it now when I can do it tomorrow? Because generally if you do it now, it's better. It works out better. And then the bulk of the documentation are the working procedures, and that's where I talk about our 53-step deposit procedure. And we have about 300 of them. But everybody in the office makes decisions based on the strategic objective and the operational procedures and the working procedures. And then if any changes need to be made, we go back to those documents and make the changes. And everybody's working off the same script. And of course, every script is as perfect as it possibly can be. And hence the term work the system.
Right. And then for people that feel like, for me, who's a pretty creative person, I'm an idea person, and I originally felt that I'd be constrained by any sort of system, even though I realized the importance of it, because things are falling through the cracks and fires turn up, and it's taking my psychic RAM and my mental RAM to deal with it.
Yeah.
How do you get people to flip that switch?
Every time I speak to a group, I get somebody in the audience going like this, and they don't like the mechanics of it. I want to be free and be creative, and I don't want to spontaneous.
I don't want to be wrapped in this straitjacket of
systems. But the problem is, we're all in this world, and we can get a little philosophical here, but we're trapped in a mechanical world. Sorry about that. You have to pay the phone bill. You have to give instructions to people. You have to go to the store to get the groceries in the car. And so we're trapped in this mechanical world. So as long as that's true, and as long as we have to deal with mechanics, why don't we make those mechanics as efficient and automated as we possibly can? Automated, delegated, deleted when we can. And we get the mechanical out of the way, and that gives us room to be creative.
And then is there a way of where do companies, where can they interject maybe their own personality and not feel like it has to be this straight jacket of a 1, 2, 3, 4 procedure, or is it?
Well,
can you put a kind of a culture or a fun part of, for instance, like the bank deposit, right? It was a 53 or 54 step thing. Could step 55 be put away the mask and the gun? You could use that for the next bank robbery or something like that, and interject some levity, or is it?
Oh, sure. Of course, you can have fun with this. The beautiful thing about it, if you go in my office, it's very lighthearted. Everybody feels good about what they're doing, and the beauty is for my employees is I'm never there. They get to make all the decisions, and I say, you make a mistake, you make a mistake. But here are your guidelines, and there's so few mistakes made. And what happens is, when they're going through a procedure, and they're not reading procedures like on a piece of paper walking around like this all day, they know them in their heads. But if there's a tweak, we call it, I use the word tweak all the time, if there's a tweak to be made, then they go back to the written procedure, and it's on a hard drive, of course, and they change the procedure, they tweak the procedure, they're working on the system to make it a little bit more efficient and a little bit more efficient. And the bottom line is, they're all tremendously efficient, number one. And number two, if there's an error or a problem comes up, 9 out of 10 times it's because the system needs to be updated. And so people don't get in trouble in my office. It doesn't happen. Hey, you didn't do this over here. It doesn't. You always go back all the system. Step 17 went back and looked at. They either fell out of the system procedure, or more than likely, the elements of the environment have changed to where we need to go back and work the system and tweak the system more. So it turns out, because everybody is so productive, and my people make double what they make in any other answering service in the United States. They make double, and they only work 40-hour weeks, and they love it. But you do have to find people that buy into the strategy. There are people out there that don't like to write things down.
Right. So that's a good segue, because we started implementing some of the things from Work the System, and we had a little bit of pushback where some of the team was like, well, isn't this going to sort of make me obsolete? And why do I want to document all this? Or the documentation would come in a little bit fuzzy, and how do you get around that, or how do you get that buy-in? Or some people don't buy in ever.
You use the word get, and so the first third of my book is about getting it, and that means understanding, understanding how it works and why it isn't a threat, and why it will make the employee more productive and actually more secure in their job, and actually rise through the ranks faster up into a greater level of management, because if your people are doing the same routine thing over and over and over again, that's mind-numbing. That makes a person crazy. They would rather spend their time taking care of the mechanics and doing the creatives of talking to clients, making a sale, all the things that are not mechanical, all the things that are creative and human. That's where they want to spend their time, and by getting the mechanics out of the way, they're able to do that. And it takes a little work to get them convinced and get them to understand that, but we've streamlined that in our new product. We've streamlined that, and it makes it very easy to get your staff to buy into it. However, there could be staff that just does not want to write things down, and that can be a problem.
And so those are the ones that usually find
They
employment
usually
somewhere else.
Well, now we're down to the mechanics. If you can't do, I sound so hard-hearted. Employee, I'm going to give you this amount of money to do this job, and the deal is, if you don't like doing what I'm asking you to do, this is America, you can quit.
Yeah.
And also, if I ask you to do this, we are changing things. If you just don't want to do it, I love you dearly, but I got to replace you, and you need to move on. And that can be, to a manager, that can be a scary thought. But in reality, it's what has to happen if you want to change your business to get it to be where you want to go. You can't have people, you can't have employees dragging you down.
Yeah, and the before and after. So we talked about the before. That was the sleeping in the office, working 80, 100 hours a week, and now you're working, what, I think 2 hours?
I work 2 hours just because I like to show up.
On your business.
Right.
And, that was the big thing with the Gerber book that probably everybody read, the E-Myth book, where it's like, okay, the big concept was work on your business, not in your business, but there was never that, here's the step-by-step how to do it, and that's what Work the System really gave me. And, what's interesting is, so you came over here as you had an appointment in DC, and we're filming a little bit on the Work the System stuff, and last night I'm thinking, God, I don't know if we've implemented that much of it, and I hope Sam's not disappointed with what we pick up on tape. And then I thought a little bit more about it, and really, as you were interviewing me just before this, I was thinking more about it, and we used a lot more of this, like for the underground seminar, where we took pieces that we might have had a checklist here and there, but we really started thinking about it more by taking out the pieces, like, okay, here's sponsorship stuff, here's the speaker stuff, here's what we need to do 3 weeks before the event, here's 4 weeks before the event, and kind of just progressively making it a little bit better. And I actually feel better about what we've done so far, instead of, I don't know, maybe people think like it's an all or none situation, and they get discouraged by how daunting of a task it is to incorporate systems into everything. Well,
what you mentioned earlier, that it changed your thinking.
Yeah.
Or it changed your thinking. So that, and the thinking part that gets changed is, everything is pretty much in a linear progression. How can we make that linear progression progress exactly the same way every time? So it does change your thinking, and like it or not, and I have a part in the book where I talk about it, when you get what we call the systems mindset, you won't be able to go back. It's a kind of a warning. And in the book, I actually...
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah, red pill, blue pill, and there's no going back. But you won't want to go back, because you find your whole life becoming more and more efficient. And so is it one or the other? Yeah, it really kind of is. So you can continue to live in chaos and, metaphorically speaking, working to 80 to 100 hour work weeks, or you can work 2 hour work weeks and make 20 times the income. Choose one. You can continue with this one, or you can go to the other one. And I'll just interject this, every large successful business is built on protocols and working on those protocols and systems. All struggling small businesses, I'll say 99% of small struggling businesses are struggling because they haven't found a way to take these amorphous organic systems and get them directed and efficient. They're spinning their wheels, killing fires, mole whacking, and that's why most businesses go out of business, is because they haven't looked at the machinery underneath that is creating the results. They're dealing with bad results all the time, when they should be focusing on the machinery underneath that's creating the results that they want.
And do you think the systems can also apply to creative tasks, whether it's copywriting or
my
things that are
my
that
my
generate
partner,
the money.
yeah, my partner Mike Giles is a marketing copywriter. That's what he does. And when I first started talking to him, and he's on the Academy project with me, we're 50-50 on the project. He wanted to be able to say, as we progressed, and he had hoped that a creative person could take the work the system formula and make it work. And he made it work in his life. And here's, in a nutshell, what happened. He says, I can take a creative job. I'm charged with creating some advertising for somebody. And it normally took me 40 hours to do it because I made lists of all the things that are necessary, and I kept thinking about it 40 hours. And what he's done is he's boiled it down to 4 hours because he can delegate all the research out. There's elements of even copywriting that you can delegate out to other people. If you're painting a painting, that's silly. Of course, that's purely creative. But in almost any kind of business activity, there's a lot of mechanics that can be automated, delegated, or, as I said, deleted out of the process.
Yeah, and if you're progressively making, it's not all about perfection, but it's about that positive progress. It helps a lot.
Right. We don't get caught up with 100% perfection. I came here with the camera this morning. We stumbled around with the camera, and you said to me, "Why didn't you put together a working procedure for it?"
I was just giving you a hard time.
You were exactly right.
It's hard to be the systems guy and not get a hard time when the system.
But you were precisely right. I had it in my head, and it was there's some mechanical problem with one of our sound systems here, but we couldn't figure it out. And you're sitting here waiting for us. But I should have had a working procedure, and I think we would have got to the same place. We had a mechanical problem, but I didn't have a procedure for putting the camera together because my technical guy does all that. Awesome. So there's no perfection in this stuff.
One last question, then we'll wrap up. Is do you think certain people have more proclivity, or I'm a big fan of unique ability, which is a term one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, uses, where something that keeps you energized, you keep getting better at it, and I'm also study Colby profiling, which is a type of.
Sure.
You've seen Colby profiling.
Of course.
So there's 4 aspects of Colby, and then one of them is called follow through, but it's not follow through as far as following through on actions. It's just somebody with a very high follow through, 8, 9, or 10 will actually they naturally create systems. Someone in the middle will maintain. Someone at 1, 2, 3 will improvise. I'm at the improvise level.
Okay.
So. I'd be interested what your profile is. You might not know it off the top of your head, but do you think certain people are more inclined to make this happen, or would you task a certain person to be in your office or team to start the procedures and systems, and then?
Exactly, and a lot of times people like you and people like me at the top of the food chain in our respective endeavors is more creative and almost more artistic. Doesn't want to get bogged down with this. So I have people in my office who do want to get bogged down in it and are very, very good at it. You're exactly right. Well, look at me. So I come out here to do this, and I'm all interested in the creative part. I'm the guy that wrote the book. And so, but the truth is, I think people with a math, science proclivity do better at this than somebody who's a writer, an artist, I don't know what you call it, the softer sciences, but your technically oriented people are going to do better with the mechanics of it. So hire people like that.
Yeah, you test them with that, and then
right.
and then of course you can. And I see where the difference is, because for this year's event it was way less stressful. I mean, I was away for 3 out of 4 weeks leading up to my event, and we had more systems and checklists in place than ever before, and it was more relaxing. I mean, I was away in Necker Island, I was in Haiti, I was on 2 speaking gigs. And that was the first time that I wasn't scrambling around like crazy.
Well, you were able to spend more time in the creative relationship place, which is...
Well, I was off on actually better or other activities, not even totally thinking about the event. And it was kind of weird. I'm like, is there something I'm missing that it's going to fall apart, that that I'm not in this weird kind of 24/7 stressed out. I'm never really stressed out. I'm pretty laid back, but not this 24/7. Oh my God, what do we miss? Sort of world, and it was great. It was a great feeling, and so we want more of that. One
thing you mentioned earlier was that you couldn't put a website together.
Yes.
Now I can't either.
Yeah.
I'm a real dummy when it comes to IT, so I have people do that the way you have people do that, but the ability to give them give them direction, the technical elements of what you want. They can figure that out if you give them a general idea, and they get to know you, right? What you expect, and it's the same with me. We just had our IT guy in Oregon on the line here trying to get this filming to work correctly. I should say there's two cameras going here. There's that one and there's that one, and he helped us solve the problem, which is all I wanted. I don't need to be an IT guy, and neither do you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
All right, so I would highly recommend check out workthesystem.com. Get the book. Sam and Mike are coming out with something really cool at the Work the System Academy, and so stay on track there to see what's going on. So I promise it'll make a big difference in your life and your business.
Thank you, Yanik.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sam.